So EPA head Scott Pruitt was fired. I mean, they said he resigned, but he was fired because he basically is the most corrupt person in American history. That might not be an exaggeration. But on his way out, he wrote Trump a letter, and it is glorious in how pathetic it is. So let me read it to you here. He says, "Mr. President, it has been an honor to serve you in the cabinet as administrator of the EPA. Truly, your confidence in me has blessed me personally and enabled me to advance your agenda beyond what anyone anticipated at the beginning of your administration. Your courage, steadfastness, and resolute commitment to get results for the American people, both with regard to improved environmental outcomes as well as historical regulatory reform, is in fact occurring at an unprecedented pace, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve you and the American people in helping achieve those ends. That is why it is hard for me to advise you I am stepping down as administrator of the EPA effective as of July 6th. It is extremely difficult for me to cease serving you in this role. First, because I count it a blessing to be serving you in any capacity, but also because of the transformative work that is occurring. However, the unrelenting attacks on me personally, my family, are unprecedented and have taken a sizable toll on all of us. My desire in service to you has always been to bless you as you make more... As you make important decisions for the American people. I believe you are serving as president today because of God's providence. I believe that same providence brought me into your service. I pray, as I have served you, that I have blessed you and enabled you to effectively lead the American people. Thank you again, Mr. President, for the honor of serving you, and I wish you Godspeed in all that you put your hand to." He went on to say, "God, God, God. Goddy, God, God, God. God." Oh, that's so fucking creepy. Dude, your job was the head of the EPA. That's a very science-y position. And this motherfucker is deep in that evangelical Christian trench. I mean, goodness gracious. And just for the record here, this is why you don't have theocrats in government. Because that will bleed over into their actions and their policies and how they view the world. So these guys, there's a passage in the Bible about how, like, oh, man has dominion over all things or something like that. And there are people who, Republicans who are elected and Republicans who are the head of agencies who they think that that's like a recipe or a directive of, oh, you don't have to care about environmental concerns because it says, like, we have dominion over the earth. So we just get to, there's a branch of Christianity called Christian Dominionists. It's very extreme. They're fundamentalists, and their whole thing is like, yeah, no, we get to control everything. We control the world. So if we pollute like a motherfucker, don't worry, it's in God's hands. He'll take care of it. Who was the Republican? I forget who it was who said the most awesome thing about the earth is you poke holes in it and oil comes out. What? I think it was Joe Barton. It may have been Joe Barton. But this is what extremism looks like, man. Like, why are you bringing up God, dude? You're serving because of God's providence. Yes, so God is sitting up there in heaven and looking around and going, "Maha, who should be president of the United States? I have an idea. Get me the guy from The Apprentice. Get me the reality show star." I mean, what? What? You didn't stop to think, hey, maybe if that's what God wanted, God's a douche. Maybe that God is not a great God. Maybe that God is not an almighty God, not an intelligent God. Of all the people that could have been picked, that's who God went with? Donald Trump. And then also, I love the hubris of these guys, because whenever they lose, like when Obama was president, they weren't like God's providence. It was obviously God's providence. He controls everything. When somebody they don't like wins, it's not because of God. When somebody they do like wins, it's because of God. And then also, go ahead, ask them, did God play a role in the fucking election in Botswana or New Zealand? It's like, no, God doesn't care about those countries. Come on, they're not us. We're us. Therefore, God is looking down like, I care so much about what Scott Pruitt does. Oh. And then meanwhile, this guy, what did he, I forgot the number, 200,000, 300,000, something like that. He took from the oil and gas industry when he was attorney general in Oklahoma, was it? I'm forgetting the state he was. But he has just a record of taking money from these nefarious actors who are actively against regulating for environmental protection, and then he does their bidding. I mean, that's the whole point of... And he's one of the most prominent global warming deniers in the country. Climate science deniers. I mean, he's the guy who's like, CO2 isn't a major contributor to climate change? What? What are you talking about? He doesn't know anything, and he was the head of the EPA. And now you see what really goes on in his mind. Every other sentence, there's a reference to God. God's providence put you in charge, Donald Trump. And I was here to serve you and serve God by allowing rampant pollution, fucking up of the water supply. Literally, they were trying to get rid of some of the clean water rules. This is their fucking strategy. This is their philosophy. This is what they do. And it's largely because, isn't it funny, the most fundamentalist religious people also happen to be the most corrupt people? It's almost like they think, well, I know I'm a good guy because I'm on the proper team when it comes to my religion. Therefore, I get to, be as corrupt as I want and do whatever I want because whatever I do is defined as the proper thing because I have God on my side. It's like a crutch they lean on in all circumstances where they know, like, no, I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. And I know I'm doing the right thing because God. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. He's super corrupt. I still can't get over the fact that he was like living in a lobbyist's apartment or something for a while. I forget the specifics of that story, but he got like a sweetheart deal from a fucking, big oil lobbyist or natural gas lobbyist, coal, whatever the fuck it was. Some polluter. He was his landlord. And this is the guy who you want. And then, by the way, guess who's replacing him? A coal lobbyist. It really is fundamentally ridiculous that fully 1/2 of the politicians in this country, they think like, no, I hate government, which is why you should put me in charge of it. That's their philosophy. Their philosophy is like, I'm against government. Now elect me to government. In no other field do you see shit like that. It's not, you can never get like, yeah, I'm a surgeon, but I'm against surgeons. So let me be your surgeon. Why would it, for government, I don't understand why people would view that as appealing. But that's where we're at, and that's what half the country's like. And that was his role. His role as the EPA head was basically to act like the EPA shouldn't exist. Handcuff it as much as possible. Turns out that the guy who loves that philosophy also turns out to be a religious lunatic. And now you know.